Good afternoon. This is the House Appropriations Committee. It is Monday, March 16th, 2026. It is just after 12:30 and we are in the home stretch of a very busy week. This is our week to pass all the bills that are coming to us and the budget by Friday night. So fasten your seatbelts and all that good stuff. So we're going to start right now with H660, which is the opioid abatement special fund appropriation. We've talked about this a number of times, and I think we have a recommendation of how to proceed at this point. So I'm not sure who's coming up first. I'm sort of thinking this is your bill tip. Who? Katie?
Yeah.
Nolan? Okay.
I think they should come up just walk
Okay.
us through.
Great.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Katie McLean, Office of Legislative Counsel. Let me share my screen with you. Okay. So go. I know you've walked through the underlying committee report from Human Services a couple times at this point, so I will skip to the proposed appropriations amendment and tell you the differences. So a big discussion, the last time I was in the room at least, was there are 4 appropriations from that were in play, and the conversation was whether they should come from the opioid abatement special fund or prevention misuse special fund. So the change you have here from the underlying committee report is moving those appropriations from the prevention misuse special fund back to the opioid abatement special fund. So that is what this yellow highlighting is, as it's moving the appropriations from one place, from one special fund to another. And so they're being added here. And then you have this new language that says, unless reverted by a future act of the General Assembly, the appropriations made in accordance with this section shall carry forward until fully expended. So again, those are.
Where is that last?
I'm on page, the bottom 4, page 4, and then the middle of the page is subsection B.
Oh, I see on line 11.
Mhm.
Just to make that crystal clear. I mean,
Okay.
to those that
Oh.
or not to make it crystal clear for you, but that there wasn't anything in the prior authorizing legislation that made it clear that that money would carry forward.
Okay, so for example, up on line 3, number 12, the 200,000 for distribution to Interaction. If they don't spend it all in one fiscal year, it automatically carries forward until they spend the 200,000.
That's right.
So there's no new appropriation, it just
That's
spend
right.
it all down.
Mhm.
That's right.
Okay.
The next 3 sections of the committee report, Bill, dealt with past appropriations that were either not fully expended or the program had wrapped up and there was still some money left over. That is mostly being dealt with in a new section of this bill that I am delighted to have Grady tell you about. It's technical, but because there were some language changes, this section 2 is being retained. And for example, some of the changes from the House Committee report, when there is a discussion about satellite locations, the original authorizing legislation directed a facility operated by DOC. And that's being struck through here from the Committee on Human Services. You're just retaining their language changes that they're making there. Next is section 3. The only change here is a typo I caught. So I was glad I had a vehicle to put it in. Each ongoing funding proposal considered by the advisory committee shall include a sustainability plan from the applicant to ensure consideration of future expenses and available resources apart from the opioid abatement special fund. Section 4, there was already a language in the bill, the subsection B, that the opioid abatement settlement committee was not going to accept new proposals for fiscal year 28 unless it was previously identified as ongoing money, with the intent to review the outcomes of existing programs that were funded through the opioid abatement special fund. Subsection A is being added in this appropriations committee amendment that on or before December 1 of this year. The Department of Health shall review all previous appropriations from the special fund and make recommendations to the advisory committee the two policy committees, which appropriations could be funded in future years by the Substance Misuse Prevention Special Fund.
Okay, so we're moving the money back that Human Services had proposed to put in the special for the misuse, substance misuse.
Yes.
We're asking them to look for the future on whether they could be funded.
Yes. This is the technical reversion section that I'm gonna let Grady explain to you. So I'm gonna just scroll past it and say your effective date is July 1, 2026. But I'll let JFO handle the reversion piece.
Grady, who's next?
Wait, there's actually, Katie, there's another sentence in section B. That after long-term sustainability, there's we had added the phrase and the appropriateness of the opioid abatement special fund as a funding source where applicable. So involving the opioid settlement advisory committee and not just the Department of Health, and looking at the overall picture of funding, of programs, and determining, well, which might be good for base, which might be, which might we need to somehow fund through some other means, whether it's the Substance Misuse Prevention Fund or I guess not the tobacco fund. So
Does A cover it? Does A solve
well,
your problem or
it
not?
doesn't, A's charges the Department of Health for
Okay.
review. This involves the opioid settlement
Ah.
advisory committee in that
Okay.
review as well. As long as you're going to review it for these other things, you need to review it also.
Just make that.
The appropriateness of the opioid settlement advisory committee. Because Nolan can talk to you about the way in which that funding is winding down until we get the Purdue settlement. And the rationale for holding off on any new appropriations in the coming year. So.
Thank you for the reminder. So we have it. This is draft 2.1 that I just pulled up. So you have 1.1 posted on your website. So I will make sure that Autumn has this language, but I appreciate the reminder.
No problem.
So page 7, subsection B, funded through the opioid abatement special fund to assess effectiveness, long-term sustainability, and the appropriateness of the opioid abatement special fund as a funding source where applicable.
But that's the only difference between these two versions.
Between 1.1 and 2.1.
Dave?
I just want to make sure I understand the implications of the section that says the committee won't approve any new proposals in FY 28 until, could you just go over that again for me,
Yeah,
please?
that's this language in B. So in previous years appropriating from the opioid abatement special fund, sometimes some of the appropriations have language that indicates it's an intent to continue funding those programs or positions with opioid abatement fund money. And that those items that have previously been indicated in legislation to require ongoing funding from opioid abatement special fund, the committee will accept those applications in fiscal year 28. However, it would not accept new funding proposals, and the committee would instead spend its time reviewing the outcomes of programs and initiatives previously funded through the special fund to assess their effectiveness, their long-term sustainability, and the appropriateness of using the special fund for that purpose.
Thank you. May I, Madam Chair?
Go right ahead.
This gives me a little pause. If I'm correct, and please correct me if I'm not, my recollection is there's approximately 200, though it's gone down, around 250 deaths a year due to opioids. And I'm wondering, somebody could come up with, hey, they did this in California or they did this in Oregon, and it's been evidence-based and demonstrated to be a great idea. Let's put it on the table. And our folks might say, sorry, it might be a good idea, but we're still studying the effectiveness of older ideas. It might have been good, it might not have been good. Why would I, in what I consider to be crisis, the word crisis is overused, but a serious problem in our state, I'm uncomfortable hitting the pause button. Am I misreading things?
I'm probably best equipped to answer that.
You go right ahead.
Okay, I mean, it was the Human Services Committee determined that, I mean, this was its suggestion, because there hasn't been a review of the impact of all the money that's gone out from the fund. And, you know, I think that they felt that it was cleaner to say, okay, with the exception of these four things, the overdose prevention center is not mentioned here because it's not being given a new appropriation because it is carrying forward money from the prior allocation. But there are four main things that have been indicated to be annual appropriations that are systemic approaches. I agree with you, Dave, and I think that Rep. McGuire and Wood talked about it a fair amount and felt that it was we needed to step back and take a look at that in conjunction with looking at the Substance Misuse Prevention Fund and how we're spending that money and is it being spent effectively in order to kind of do right by that fund, because for the last couple of years we've funded a whole lot of things, many kind of smaller initiatives, and the committee has expressed an interest, and which I share, in making sure that we're spending that money, which is not unlimited, on strategic things that contribute to strengthening the system. And, you know, not a little program here or a little program there. That is a risk in holding back. There is a risk in holding back for a year. Some of the money that is, I mean, if it was a brand new thing, I don't know, yeah, no, sure, yeah.
Come on, us too. You can all sit there.
For the record, Nolan and I will join fiscal office. Maybe I'll provide a little context that might help. So there's a lot of moving things. First off, I think so all these proposals are coming from either the health department or the opioid special abatement committee, whatever that's called. And in theory, they're putting them forth because they think all of those ideas are good, right? So they're putting forth ideas that they think meet that criteria that you were suggesting, an example of Oregon. So the problem is that it's a finite fund. So you know that it's going to be coming to a point. The other issue is that some of the money that was appropriated 2 years ago hasn't actually been obligated. So there's a lot of money that's been appropriated and obligated. So there's this, if you look retrospectively, you can see that there's programs that got all their full appropriation. There's some programs from 2 years ago that haven't even gotten contracts on yet. And so there was a sense of like, we have a lot of really good ideas. They want to step back and say, let's just look at what we've done before we start taking in new ideas, because they're all good ideas, right? So I think it was just like step back because it is a finite fund. So I think that was kind of the thinking of it.
So I'm looking at that sentence where it says instead shall review the outcomes of programs and initiatives previously funded through the opioid prevention special fund to assess. Now, what you were just talking about was efficiency. Some funds, if some programs haven't been able to get off the ground or haven't been able to do it, so they're not sufficient.
Sometimes it's just like nobody put an RFP in.
Right. So I'm wondering whether if we change that language a little bit, say, assess the efficiency, effectiveness, programs, and long-term sustainability of the fund. And where applicable, it's all applicable. So I would strike those last two. Any suggestions on that language? That makes sense to anybody?
You're dropping that last phrase that's not in front of you. It's in the draft 2.1 and the appropriateness of the opioid abatement special fund as a funding source.
So take a look at 2.1. Autumn has now posted it to our committee page. So refresh your computer
So there's another-
and don't look at the one that doesn't have a bunch of yellow lines on that. Lines 13 and 14, there should be some yellow highlighting, and then you know you have the right draft.
So I got.
You know the right
that
draft.
one.
We were given the incorrect
Yeah.
draft.
Two point one.
Yeah.
10:53 a.m. So this is in section 4,
Yeah, page 7.
page 7. Oops.
I'm not sure you want to drop where applicable, because it talks about long-term sustainability. And some of the appropriations and projects funded with the opioid funds have been one-time programs. So I think that is what the where appropriate is modifying the fact that not everything is meant to be an ongoing program.
I don't. What I called up on the computer, it doesn't have any yellow on it at all. And it's.
Did you
Here,
update?
you can look at mine.
Oh, let's see, I didn't update it. Okay. It in there.
There you go. Now he's good.
Independently derived from two sources.
See, your wishes are command, it's all done.
Does this, do these changes in section 4 relate to, the discussion we had, on section 4, actually part of the, discussion at the time that we looked at the original, fiscal note that the opiate abatement special fund is one time only, it will end. And the substance misuse prevention special fund will be ongoing, it's smaller. But is it, that we should look at them differently? We did talk about that was one of the things they wanted to maybe change in this. Put it in a different bill or
So,
fine tune it, is that what,
so
does it relate to that?
I think so, but let me talk a little bit about what I was going to talk about, and maybe that answers your question. And if it doesn't, we can revisit it. The 2 points, the point I was going to make from the fiscal standpoint is this bill is the amendment is trying to do two things. The first, and this is why Grady's here, is to clean up the reversion language. The reversion language was actually a recommendation from the health department. It said, can you please add this to the bill? And we added to the bill. And then when we looked at it, we just, Grady looked at it and was like, we need to make this more in tune with how we structure the budget in terms of reversion language. So just clean up on the reversion. So there's no changes to what's being reverted. It's just trying to match it up to the format that we use in the budget around reversion. So that's just cleanup language. That's the first thing. The second piece, and this might answer Representative Dickinson's question, is the Human Services Committee had recommended putting those 4 items, which was $640,000. They felt that it was more appropriate coming out of the Substance Misuse Prevention Fund, which comes from comes from cannabis dollars. What this bill is doing is putting it back into the opioid fund, and there's a reason for that. And that's that there's not enough money in the Substance Misuse Special Fund to fund these things. There was $128,000 left over, and we spent that in budget adjustment. So with Representative Bloomley and I presented 3 options for Representative Bloomley. One would be you could change what's in the Substance Misuse Fund, because they have some proposals for how that money's been spent, and they provided that to us. So you can reduce some of their proposals. The problem is that we didn't have enough information about what the impact on reducing those proposals might be. They have contracts already. If we funded them, would that actually not make it effective because we're taking away some of the funding? There was not enough information about it, which I think is why that language around looking at the Substance Misuse Fund as well as the opioid fund is in there. So like
For the future.
For the future. Second option would be leave the Substance Misuse Fund alone and instead just put it back into the opioid fund, because there's money there to pay for this, even though it's
That's
a,
where the original recommendation came from.
yeah, the original, those four items, there were several items that, and if you, I don't have it with me, but the sheet that had all the comparisons to the record, you can hold on to it, it's fine. It had the recommendations from what was so there was two recommendations around the opioid fund. One was, and you received the both from the health department. One was what the health department thought the recommendation should be. And the other was what I'm going to call it OSAC, which is the Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee felt. And so with the Human Services Committees, they weighed both of them. And then their recommendation was, a combination of both of those. Those four items, the $640,000, came out of the OSAC recommendations, but not out of the health department recommendations. So OSAC was recommending that they be used with opioid dollars. The conversation in Human Services was, well, would this be more appropriate in the Substance Misuse Fund? So that's why they put it there. Representative Blumley and I had the conversation that the money isn't there unless you take it out of something that's already been sort of obligated potentially or allocated, we're not sure. Or the third option would be take it all together, which I don't think was an option at all.
I think that I was present for the conversation before they recommended taking it out of substance misuse prevention, where they talked about, well, we need more prevention. We want to fund prevention. These look like, they were familiar with these programs and they recommended that they be funded. And I don't think Nolan was in the room when this choice was made to take it from the Substance Misuse Prevention Fund. And I talked with Rep. Wood. I think that there are questions that the committee has and that the Senate committee has about the Substance Misuse Prevention Fund, how that money is used, whether it is serving the priorities that we want it to. And yet this committee doesn't have the bandwidth nor the expertise our committee can't really make those recommendations except arbitrarily, and which I wasn't comfortable doing.
So I think we're trying to set it up for future recommendations to be in the appropriate place rather than trying to make the decisions ourselves on where it should be, which is why Tiff is recommending just reading, which is what the settlement committee agreed on.
I do know that the Senate committee is going to be taking testimony on this use of the substance misuse prevention.
They can do what
They can do what they want, exactly.
but this is cleaner, I think, doing it this way.
It felt cleaner, at least to me.
That's the purpose, the assessment and the review.
Right, exactly.
Launch ahead. with-
Right, so that's why that language is in there to do that.
Like that.
Okay, so are people kind of clear on all that? Brady, is there anything you'd like to add? Would you like to explain the reversions?
I think Nolan pretty well covered it, but yeah, in section 5, so the original bill as recommended by House Human Services had 3 reversions amounting to a little less than $1.5 million. Those initial appropriations came from 2023 at 2022, which was making appropriations from this fund. The way that it was current or originally drafted in the House Human Services report was actually reducing those prior year appropriations. And effectively, you can't unappropriate once you've appropriated. They close out the fiscal year, so you have to formally do a reversion. So that section 5, it's the exact same dollar amounts. It's just clarifying that you have to actually revert it that way. The only thing I would flag was this section was requested by the Department of Health, but that carry forward language that's being added in the House Appropriations report to the appropriations being made in this fiscal year or this coming fiscal year there was no carry forward language for those Act 22 appropriations.
Right.
So those were carried forward with excess receipts authority. So these reversions, unless the department actively requested another excess receipt to carry those funds forward, these funds would revert regardless of that in this current fiscal year. So it's belts and suspenders really.
Yeah, but it clarifies the way there's appropriations, there's reversions, there's so they're doing it the right way. Wait.
So did you hear anybody hear any testimony as to why the money wasn't spent and why it was being reverted?
There are a number of reasons. I mean, there are sometimes, I mean, for whatever reasons, a lot of contracts weren't executed until well beyond the new fiscal year. And so it's taken a lot of time to get some of the money out. And sometimes the projects themselves are complicated enough that it's been a challenge to set them up. And so it's a mix of things. And the Human Services Committee asked a lot of questions about why is it taking so long to get some of this money out?
So what's the contacting problem on the provider side?
It's
or on the
shared. It's
state
shared. It
side?
depends on the actual grant.
There's been a lot of grants.
Yeah.
Out over the last 3 years. In one case, I think that they were able to execute the contract for cheaper than was appropriated.
And
True
sometimes,
with every agency.
you know, an organization need to get insurance.
Right.
That for this new project, and it took much longer than they had anticipated. I mean, it's just, there are different reasons for it. And I think everybody's trying to work harder to make sure that the money gets turned around.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't on the state side.
Yeah, well, I think it's shared. I think it's a shared
Yeah, there
responsibility.
are probably some reasons for the state and some reasons on the other side, and, you know, as you said, if insurance takes a long time, then you can't do a lot about that, you have to get your insurance.
Yeah.
The only other thing I would add is that my original fiscal note had the net impact, but with the appropriations that were in the bill and with the reversions, it was 4.52 million was the original bottom line impact for the opioid fund. But when you add the 640 back in, the bottom line is 5.163 million. So it's $640,000 more. And I'll have an updated fiscal note. I have it drafted. I just didn't present it because it's not finished. You haven't voted on it. It's like,
Right.
just
Okay,
And what remains in the fund, you have my sheet here. Yeah.
at that time, there was, who made this sheet? Jeez.
Yeah.
There was balance, I think it was, so as of end of unappropriated, so it was about 11.8 million at the time, and then with 660, it's 7.3 million. But if we do this, take another 640 off, so it's like 6 point.
so everything's in the black, we aren't, no.
Everything's in the black,
So-
and there's a Sackler settlement for roughly 20 million-ish
Right.
coming in. We don't know when it's coming in. It's the last tranche of money we're gonna get. It's the Attorney General, I think, thinks it's gonna probably be a one lump sum versus some of the other ones that are kind of trickling in. If you look at my old fiscal note, you'll see I have sort of a allocation and spend, you know, what it looks like through 2037. This doesn't take, so I always recommend don't spend the 20 million until you have it, but
Absolutely. So just to sort of sum this up, we're moving the original appropriations from the opioid special fund back into the opioid special fund, not touching the substance misuse prevention fund. We're doing the correct reversions, and we have language in there to pause, look at effectiveness and all of those things so that we understand it better. So this feels like a stronger bill than what came to us from my perspective, from those standpoints. Dave and then Wayne?
Sorry to continue that. Tiff, do you know, did both House Human Services and the opioid advisory committee, do they both agree on doing no expenditures in 28? Or was it one or the other?
No, this was not a discussion that Human Services had with the opioid abatement.
They did it on their own.
Opioid, yeah, settlement committee, advisory committee. But a member of that advisory committee serves on the on Human Services, Eric McGuire. And supported this, yes.
And was it unanimous amongst the committee?
That is, it was nearly unanimous, if not.
I don't remember the vote.
Do you remember?
Pardon?
I don't remember the vote.
Yeah, if not the vote, the discussion. Did anybody talk about an alternative to doing nothing?
Well, they're not doing nothing because there are certain programs that are continuing.
Oh, I understand that. Anything new.
It's just not new until which.
It's just there are a lot of underspent grants. Grants that will take until maybe, at least the middle or 2/3 of the next fiscal year to expend. And so this is where the committee seemed to feel most comfortable, given the table that they saw that Nolan had about the impact of the spend down on that fund. The Department of Health just came out with a strategic plan around substance use programming and kind of its reason of what is most effective. And the Human Service Committee wanted everybody to be on the same page. And that this fund and the Substance Misuse Prevention Fund to be aligned with where we want to go in the future. So
Appreciate, I'm informed, I'm not persuaded, but I don't want to hold things up.
Yeah, so the vote out of Human Services was 10-0. On the original bill.
but they put.
So the money being spent, they agreed on all the money that's being spent. We're changing the source of funds for those things. That's,
But we did not put in,
They did the
putting a
pause.
hold on, they put the pause
they
in.
put the price.
Yeah.
Right. Wayne? Thank
I
you.
just want to say that I agree with you, that I think this is better than what we got. My concern is that we spend the money wisely and don't
Right.
squander it. And actually gets effective treatment,
Yeah.
whatever it is that we're gonna get out of this.
So I would like to have the committee vote on this bill. If people are comfortable doing that. So I'd entertain a motion to, this is as amended. Oh, I'll be slow because we're getting the record of action here. H660, was it originally amended by Human Services and then as amended by us?
Yes.
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 Okay, as amended by Human Services and further amended by Appropriations?
Recommended,
Okay,
recommended by the committee. Right?
You're amending the committee report of Human Services.
okay. As recommended by Human Services and amended by Appropriations. Okay, we're gonna need a lot of those pieces of paper today, this week, this week. Tomorrow is our big bill day, but it's not our only bill day. We're gonna be having to go back and vote on a lot of the other ones that we've already heard. Once we have a sense of the money and where we want to spend it, or if we need to have.
So where's the motion?
Oh, I haven't, I've asked for it, John.
I'll forward that motion.
Second, wait, okay. Any further discussion at this point? Seeing none. Whenever the clerk is ready.
Representative Blumley,
Yes.
Representative Dickinson,
Yes.
Yes.
Representative Feltus,
Yes.
Representative Konsenska,
Yes.
Representative LaRoche.
Yes.
Representative.
She's out, yeah.
Representative Squirrel, yes. Representative Stevens. Yes. Representative Yakavoni,
Yes,
one shy,
Yes,
902.
okay. Thank you, and Tiff is the reporter of the bill. Thank you, we have wrestled that one to the ground. Thank you all, and fiscal and ledge council, that was work of many people to get this out. But we're in a, same thing.
So do I have the amendment? What?
The 2.1 should be on our committee page now.
Is that the amendment?
The amendment is 2.1.
Got 2.1.
You'll tell me the.
I will send you a clean copy when I get back to my office. Yeah, that's not highlighting, so.
Autumn sent.
Okay, okay.
Great. Okay, agency. So, we have people coming in at 1:30, which gives us a little break. Just to let you know, I think our agenda got a little bit switched. This afternoon, we're gonna have James come in first and talk to us. He'll have spreadsheets about all the budget priorities that everybody sent into him, so thank you for doing that. He got them and he's putting that together. I think we're gonna have what everybody did, but anonymous, so your name isn't associated with it. And then he was working on sort of a how many votes each one got. So we have a sense of the priorities, not just for each of you individually, but as the committee as a whole. So he'll present that, we'll talk about that and just see what we see. And then Emily's going to come in and talk about the different sources of funds. So we can see if we have enough money to do a lot of the things that we like to do. So that's where we'll go with that this afternoon, so that will be. And then we may talk about, I guess I said that to Autumn whenever it was, process of bills that still needed to be voted on. So we'll talk about that then too. So unless there's any other questions, we'll just go off.